Good for you. uh, I am. Oh, what am I doing? There we go. Just wondering who's out there. A lot of people have come up to me today and said, "Boy, you know, Alex Elkin, a lot of people are shitting on you." I guess a lot of people do shit on good old Alex Elkin. That's all right. I can take it. You know, I've done comedy for a long time, and I know how to take some. I know how to take criticism. I'm no stranger to it. By the way, you can join the chat. You can talk about whatever you want right here. I'm just doing a free speech chat. Really, this is all this is, because, well, I want to. That's all it should take, right? The fact that you want to do something and you have the freedom to do so. Anyway, I'm just kind of waiting for people to gather in and see who's going to be joining. Because I was going to talk about this anger, this so much anger and hatred towards each other, mainly because, you know, we don't talk to each other anymore. We just yell at each other. We don't make conversations. We don't argue in the traditional sense, not how we used to. You know, you take two sides of an opinion and you plead your case. You know, now it's just, well, I'm going to get all my friends together up on your page, and then you can get your friends to kind of hopefully follow along with you if they agree with what you have to say. But if they don't fully agree with what you have to say, then, well, we just can't agree on anything. So it's getting to the point now where you can't even talk anymore. I'm finding that more and more. I don't know if you're finding that. Are you finding that? Let me know. Put it in the chat here, wherever you're watching. We're on the Careers on Fire stage right now. It seems like my Facebook doesn't let me all right. Okay. Well, we got a few people watching. Anyway, look, what I wanted you to go through and what I wanted to show you here is basically some of the shit that you got to deal with. Look, I'm not a fucking huge name by any means in stand-up comedy. It's just not who I am yet. I don't even know if I'll ever get there. But I have a little sphere of influence, and in that sphere of influence, boy, some people just take things super personal, and it's really kind of silly. I wanted to take you through just a few of my Facebook posts, and you can see that, boy, there's just a lot of anger and hatred. First of all, I kind of wanted to open up with this one here. If you'll see, common sense. Fortune cookies are never wrong, right? Common sense is not so common. Is that not the truth? Common sense is really not that common anymore. You'd think, I'll give you an example. You know, before I did stand-up comedy, I managed a lot of Subway restaurants, and there was a kid that worked there, and he was probably about 20 years old. He had a few years of experience under his belt, and we made milkshakes at this Subway restaurant because, F you, Jared, we're giving you back the calories you think you're losing by eating that footlong meatball. We would make the delicious milkshakes, fresh with delicious ice cream and milk, and mix it up and serve it to you in a Subway cup. Well, he, what's going on, Brightside? He would, yeah, I will get more popular after I die. Thank you, Corey. he went and made a milkshake, and the girls came up with the milkshake, and they said, this milkshake tastes funny, it's gross. And I realized that he'd poured sour milk into the milkshake to make it. And, you know, when I asked him, well, why would you use sour milk? He said, well, I didn't want to throw away milk and waste it. So he served curdled milk in a milkshake. I mean, just there's common sense there. There's common sense. You don't do that. It's not brilliant behavior. Here's a little post. I was just talking about this with our fellow comedians locally and globally and nationwidely. Why are you accepting the idea, and not just accepting, promulgating the idea that speech should be curtailed or censored in any fashion? What are you doing? What are you doing? Why in the world would you want anyone, whether it be big tech, whether it be small business, government, anybody, to be able to dictate what is okay and what is not okay to say? This bothers me to no end, especially as a comedian. I make my living based on being able to say what I want to say. And if I can't use my words to say what I want to say because I run into the hindrance of the woke mob or people coming after me and trying to burn my life down because they disagree with the words that I have to say, we've got a huge problem. This is what's called the Overton window. It's just a small designation of what society says is okay. When you talk about pushing the envelope, you're pushing it over or through the Overton window. And the problem I have with my fellow comedians that are saying that it's okay to stifle or censor speech in any fashion, you are slamming the Overton window shut on your tongue, okay? You are killing a whole life. An industry, not just an industry, it's a lifestyle. Comedians will tell you they have to do it. Singers gotta sing, comedians gotta joke, artists gotta art. And when you stifle them and tell them, I don't think that's art, so you can't create that, what are we doing to ourselves? We're handcuffing each other. Comedians so many times complain about the gig that tells you, all right, you can't say this, you can't say that, you don't want to, and then they go out and turn around and tell their other fellow comedians, that's cool, we don't like what they're saying, so it's okay to shut that down. And the problem with that. It's a two-edged sword, and eventually the pendulum swings back and you get caught in its wake. Or God forbid, its path. You can either get cut to the quick now, right? Or later on. Watch what happens. I just got dinged on Facebook, I think for 3 days, for something that I said in 2017. 2017. It's good to know, Brightside, that more comedians are saying this, because that's what needs to be said. Speech is important. I was just in Tucson, Arizona. This was a speech that I gave where I'm talking about, look, America was not founded in the halls of Philadelphia by old white dudes with quills signing papers to upset the king. This country was founded in the places where people would gather. And where did they gather early on in the founding of this country? They gathered in the churches, yes, but mainly they gathered in the pubs, in the inns, in the taverns, the places where people would gather to drink, to socialize, share their ideas, their thoughts, their concerns, what they're angry about, what they're okay with, and what they're willing to do and not willing to do for their own freedom. Now, you get these people gathered together in these inns and these taverns, and they're cold and they're huddled and they're drinking their cider and their beer, and there's people that are poor, and there's people that are wealthy, and there's people that are farmers, and there's people that are industrial, and there's all kinds of walks of life, but they're coming together in one place and they're talking. And that's what this country was founded on. What are they doing to us? Just think about, just consider this for a minute. Just consider this for a moment. What are they doing to us in our taverns and our bars and our inns? Well, they've curtailed our time we can be there. They've told us that now a curfew of 10 p.m. that's it. Apparently COVID comes out of the shadows at 10:01 p.m. and you can't be in that bar because you could be at risk of either getting it or spreading it, right? And then what else did they do? They told us that you have to go in with a mask on. And I don't know about you, but anytime you put on a mask, you're a stranger. You're that's it. You don't have an identity. You're a pair of eyes and you're a suspicious character. Not only that, the reason you're wearing a mask is because I'm scared you're going to kill me with an infectious disease. I can't think of anything more polarizing and divisive than the idea that you have cooties and I don't want to get them. And then secondly, what else did they do? They separated us by 6 feet. They told us we have to maintain a 6-foot separation. We have to be this far apart. You can't talk to each other. You can't whisper to each other. You can't communicate properly from 6 feet, especially not when you're in a mask. I'll give you an example. I was on my flight to Tucson, and I thought I had the row to myself. Had my fingers crossed, my toes were crossed my eyes, hell, my balls were crossed, hoping that I could just have this little bit of space to myself for the 2.5-hour flight. Well, that wasn't to be the case, because somebody came down the aisle and didn't tap me on the shoulder, but across the aisle, a woman probably of my stature tapped her on the shoulder and said, "I believe you're in my seat." After some exchanges back and forth, she realized she was in the wrong and found herself in the seat next to mine. She took her seat buckle and placed it over my knee and said, "I'm just going to put that for a minute, there for a minute." And, a lot of people would be taken aback and kind of like, well, who were you to do that? But you know what? I was comforted by that because it reminded me we're still a social community that we need each other. And she needed my knee at that moment for her belt buckle. And let me tell you this, as a comedian, because I can't help it. It's the way I think. And whether or not you think it's funny, I think funny. And this is the first thought that came to my head when she put her belt buckle over my knee. I thought to myself, well, that's not the first time I've taken a belt over the knee. Okay? Now, whether or not, again, you think that's funny, I don't really care. The point is, I thought that, and I thought about saying it. But the time before COVID, before all of this, before the masks, before, the separation, the strangerhood, I would have said it because she would have been able to read my face. I would have said it with a smile and a wink to let her know that I was joking. And she would have, if she was socially aware, would have connected with that and understood the joke, and we would have had a moment there where we would have laughed. And those are very few and far between nowadays, you got to admit. So sharing that laugh could have been pertinent to her day and her life. Think about that. How many times have you laughed and you've come out of some situation that you thought there was no light, there was darkness, but hold on, there's a spark, and it's laughter. It's happened for me a lot of times, and I've heard story after story from people who've been affected by the laughter that I've brought them. And whether or not you think I'm funny, that's irrelevant. The point I'm making is I didn't say what I wanted to say because I was covered up. And if I'd spoken to her, or if I'd spoken out loud, how would she have known that I was even talking to her? And would she have perked up her ears enough to listen to what I had to say the first time, which in comedy is so important. Timing is imperative. If I was going to deliver the line in the timing that it would have been needed for it to make it funny, I had to have delivered it when I thought of it. I know timing. But I held back. I decided not to because I thought, I'm going to say this, and she's not going to expect it. She's not going to see my smile, my wink, because I'm covered. And so everything's going to be misconstrued. And what her response probably would have been, what? And if I'd said what I'd said again, now I look like a pervert. There's a fine line between comedy and perversion. There really is. You can say something with the double entendre, which is what I was going to deliver. And I could have said it with a wink and a smile, but because I was covered, I couldn't. So instead of inflicting the idea on her of being a pervert and having to repeat myself, I decided to stay quiet. That's what I'm talking about. How many times have you sparked a relationship that maybe you still have today, or maybe you don't have it anymore? A friendship that was cultivated over a moment, an accidental bumping into. How many times have you, I'll tell you, I met my wife because I happened to work at a Subway, and she worked at the same Subway, and we worked together, and the rest is history. I wonder if we were to maintain a 6-foot distance and told that the other has an infectious possible disease that could kill them, and we masked ourselves so that we couldn't see each other's faces and features, would we have then connected the way we should have? Because we're coming up on 18 years married, 3 kids, a home and a nice life, a good connection and partnership. And had we not been able to meet and connect the old-fashioned way, would we be here? So I fear for the generation here who's coming up with their masks on and their fear, and they're afraid to, go and talk to other people, meet with them in personal, public life, touch them, smell them. I'm not talking sniffing their hair, but you know what I mean. We're missing that part of humanity. We're losing it's an end of an era. It really is. It's the end of an era. Now, this I wanted to point out because, look, while I may lean conservative, I could make fun of both sides. And here's what I say about it. I do make fun of both sides. The difference is only one side is willing to laugh at themselves. And you can take a guess of which side that is. I'll give you 2 guesses, but the first one doesn't count. Okay. I gotta answer this guy. Yes. All right, good. There, he's answered. I wanted to point this joke out. Just saw a spam ad pop up for conservative naughty MILFs in your area. I guess hoes are performing parlor tricks now. I can make fun of conservatives as well. And what do I get? I get a lot of likes and laughs, which is what, I appreciate that. A lot of people contributing there. Yeah, and you didn't even respond, Kathleen Dunbar. That's funny. That's a funny response. Doesn't have to turn on the red light. Screenshot or it didn't happen. Really? I gotta prove it now? It's just a joke. I love this, by the way. This Mike Tyson gif. Check it out. I love that. I think it's great. I wanted to point this out as well because this is just scrolling through my feed. I want you to see that I've got some reason here. I don't really hate anyone. I don't want to anyway. I wouldn't admit to it in public is what I'm saying. Don't ask Alexa if I hate anybody. But I want I want to know, where's the lie here? Be careful not to dehumanize those you disagree with. In our self-righteousness, we can become the very things we criticize in others and not even know it. Be kind. Where's the lie there? But we have these people that want to project their hatred, their anger onto others and say, well, you do this. And then the other side gets defensive and they start with their whataboutisms. And everything falls apart because we lose communication. You can't what about each other all day long because it's another idea of the eye for an eye. The world is just going to end up blind and toothless if you keep calling out, well, you did this injury, so I owe you for that. Oh, yeah, well, you did that to us, so we're going to do this to you. Or, will you do that? Well, we'll do this. It's foolishness. It seems like it's just absolute foolishness, and we should try and be past that. And how do you get past that? Be kind. Another joke, just a joke. Forget the crop circles. Giant meerkats are who the aliens want us to obey. Now, come on, that's adorable. Look at this. You can see the face. You can see the face up there. Where is it? There, here. Okay. Anyway, you can. Where are we? There's the head is up there, and then there's the body and the tail. It comes down. I think that's just adorable. Come on, right? It's a joke. Here's my great family. Now, the boys are missing, but we have the girls in there, my wife and my daughter. Bunch of likes, which is really nice. That's cool. A lot of people are digging on it. That's nice. No hate mail there, because you know why? There's no opinion other than it's good to be home. And who's to tell me it's not? Now, this worries me here. I don't know if you've read this story, but you can look it up for yourself. The arrest of stand-up comic Munwar Farquhar, and it should worry us all. This man made comments, derogatory comments apparently, or jokes as we used to call them, about Muhammad and the Prophet Muhammad and the religion of Islam. Now, of course, that's a big bozo no-no in a lot of countries. As a matter of fact, if you'll recall, just a couple of months ago, a father went on a rampage and beheaded a French professor because they promulgated the idea that it was okay to draw pictures of Muhammad in the vein of free speech. Now, I don't know if you could say we have the same extremism here where people are literally being beheaded, but we have had murders and deaths in the name of free speech here in America. And while the government isn't imposing their restrictions on free speech, the people are. They're turning a blind eye to the speech of anybody's views that isn't their own. And then they only perpetuate the ideas that they believe in their own little echo chamber. And when you have that constant flow of regurgitated information, well, eventually it's going to mildew, get old, curdle, much like the milk in that milkshake. Because the lack of common sense of sniffing the damn jug and smelling that it was bad, yet still using it, shows lack of common sense. Imprisoning comedians for jokes because you don't agree with what they say lacks common sense. Bottom line. This is just a throwaway, not even that funny. And you could tell by the response of nobody, it wasn't really that good. Not my best material. Steelers defense, less effective than the Capitol Police. Now, if you saw the game, you'd get the joke. It got a little bit of attention here, 30 plus. You know, that's all right. A few comments. The thing is a lot of people want to get angry with me because I bring up politics in my humor, but the way I see it is the job of a comedian is to kind of pick up that mirror, show it back to society, and make fun of it as the best they can, or at least point out some truths that we can insightfully look at. And if everybody's talking about it out there, well, then why shouldn't I be talking about it? I made this meme because a lot of people are so angry that they can't put their Trump hate pipe down for 2 seconds to think about the fact that maybe the squashing of speech doesn't always have to mean the government is coming down on the First Amendment. But think about this. If big tech is taking government money to promote certain ideas or to get ideas out to the public, and if we use it as a public means of communication, I mean, let's be realistic. If you don't have a Facebook or Twitter or Instagram or some sort of an account, who are you? It reminds me of the jerk when he got his name in the phone book. He's a somebody. You're only a somebody when you've got your social media presence. So you have to have it. So the squashing of speech by these companies who take government money technically is a violation of your First Amendment right, even though they're private companies and they can tell their people and users to speak any way they want to, right? And the ones that are okay with this are usually the ones that live in that sphere, the ones that go to work at the big tech companies where HR is something to be feared because if you get called into the office, Doris in marketing didn't like the way you looked at her dress last week, or Travis feels victimized because you won't use their pronouns properly, or whatever it is this week. So private companies have every right to run their business any way they want. And that's the argument from people on the left who want to tell you that the government isn't stamping down on free speech. It's not your First Amendment right. They have every right to run their business every way they want to, except for the fact that hundreds of thousands of small businesses around the country this summer and during the pandemic have been shut down by the government to the point of full-on closure. How is that not the restriction by the government? Why is it not the restriction by our government? How is that not the restriction of the First Amendment? The pursuit of life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Your livelihood. I don't happily sit and take a check from the government at a percentage of what I would have been making had they left me alone. And they're doing it in the name of science, and they're not even clear in the muddiest of waters of COVID-19. I'm not going to get into conspiracy theories, and I'm not going to get into the disease because that's not my place. You can look up the numbers for yourself. You can see where the real truth is coming. You can find out who's been lying to you. That's fine. My point is squashing and stifling, censoring speech. And I say it's wrong, wrong, wrong every time. Every time. And people will tell you about hate speech. Well, what about hate speech? Or can I get a gay wedding cake from a bakery that doesn't approve? Why? Why? Who's the real troll here now? You go to a Christian bakery knowing that they have problems with the idea of same-sex marriage or transgender celebrations or celebrating that culture at all. Why? Why would you insist in this free country that they perform your baked needs? What is it about you? What is it about you that makes you so angry that you need to prove something through them? And by the way, can you get it from a bakery that doesn't approve? Well, not anymore, because of the lawsuits and the discrimination cases brought against them time and time again. They're bled dry. They don't have enough dough to make the dough. So no, you can't get your gay wedding cake at Jesus's bakery and pawn shop? Because Jesus's bakery and pawn shop closed its doors, which was a good thing too, because had they not removed everything out of there, it probably would have been more flammable when Antifa and BLM burned it down in the name of justice. You know, Lincoln said, it's not going to be some transatlantic military giant that steps the oceans and crushes us in a blow. All the armies of Europe, Asia, Africa combined could not by force take a drink from the Ohio or cross a track on the Blue Ridge in the trial of 1,000 years. What's going to destroy this country is the people within it, stifling the speech of their fellow men and women, countrymen. That's what's going to destroy this country. And I'm in the thick of it because I make my living this way, which is why I have such a contention against it. Don't stifle speech. Don't censor speech. Let the idiots speak out loud. Look, about the bakery, let the bakery be bigoted. Let the bigoted bakery open up and let the market decide. You don't agree with their policies? Don't give them your money. We're so used to just shelling it out and not knowing where it goes. I guess we don't remember that we have the power. We have the spending power. We can vote with our dollar. Instead, we get on Facebook and we whine and complain and we block each other and we get mad and we don't even converse in reasonable fashion because we're just too busy getting angry. This is just another throwaway joke. I mean, nobody's going to say anything negative about this, but I mean, if you look and see, there's like 5 likes. It's called a sandwich making sandwich, and I would thank you to stop staring. A stupid little funny line that I wouldn't even do on stage, just thought of it, came to mind. And some people dug it. It doesn't get the attention. This is coming to my final point here. We're getting there. We're just going through a few of my posts to give you an idea. Now this one in particular, okay, I wanted to show you. This is a personal friend of mine, Jonna. She is the seamstress for many, many productions that go on in, well, I guess around the world. She's a worldwide seamstress for the operas. And anyway, she's wonderful, fantastic. She was there. She says Powell's Books has evacuated their customers and shut down as they're currently being threatened by a gang of Antifa thugs. They insist that Portland stop selling Andy Ngo's book, Unmasked. Apparently they think they have the right to determine what bookstores stock in their stores, what customers can buy. They're promising to come back every single day until Powell's complies. Okay, now this is her opinion, but I went and I checked it out, and I went to a Twitter post that actually showed video of Antifa banging on the doors of Powell's Books, which had been evacuated, claiming we will come back here every day and close down this business. Now, why does this not involve the First Amendment? Because it's not the government doing this? I'll tell you why. Because it's the government's job to dictate and to mandate and make sure, right? They have legislators and they have executives that execute the orders of the legislature. And if we have to, we go to the judicial branch to decide who was right and who was wrong. But we have law and order that tells you that your rights end where my rights begin. I have every right to walk into that store and buy any book that I choose that they sell. That bookstore has every right to sell any book that they choose, that they want to sell. And Antifa and whoever has every right to peaceably assemble and petition to tell this bookstore what they think. What they do not have the right to do is to promulgate violence, and to tell you that they will come back there and destroy this building and this business until they get what they want. When their rights begin and trample on my rights, where my rights start, then we have a problem and the government steps in. That's why it's a First Amendment issue, and that's why we need to call it as such. Now we have somebody that comes up onto my post and he says, I'm not Antifa and I don't know who this no character is. But when you don't even do a minute's worth of research because of something easily fits your narrative and you end up pushing propaganda rather than truth, it looks like there was some protesters of a book and the store just closed early for the day. And then he quotes KOIN News, a mainstream media news source that has lied to us before. How many times do we need to be lied to before we finally say, you know what? I don't trust you on this one. I'm starting to question your motives. You're disingenuous there. Right? Powell's announces it's not going to sell Andy No's book. And a spokesperson for Powell's told KOIN 6 News Monday evening that the store closed early as a safety precaution and will remain closed the rest of the day. A safety precaution. What happened? Nuclear fallout? Did you carry the wrong copy of The Never-Ending Story? Did Gomork finally jump out of the book? What are we worried about at the bookstore? I know it's several stories. Did the elevator go out and the fatties at the comic book level have to walk all the way up to the Dungeons and Dragons level via the stairs? What happened that would make them need to close for a safety issue? Could it be perhaps Antifa thugs making a threat that there was some sort of danger that customers would be in if they sold a book that Antifa didn't agree with? Could that be it? Now tell me how their First Amendment rights supersede the First Amendment rights of the store, the customers, and the author of the book. And secondly, explain to me the difference between threatening a business to the point of evacuation and yelling fire in a crowded theater. I'm not seeing much of a difference, and it's disconcerting to say the least. So he comes back with this. I had nothing but evidence. Nothing but evidence. Stories from people who were actually there, followed up by video of protesters threatening to shut down the business every day over the selling of a book. And this guy has never heard of the author, so suddenly this couldn't happen. Not to be too cliche, but buddy, they could fill a bookstore with what you don't know. They could fill two with what I don't know. But I do know this, that when I read firsthand documents or I see firsthand accounts, things like this, videos that were taken by people that were actually there, that were not edited, I know that I am able to trust that source. And he brings me this mainstream media source that basically just tells everybody, it's okay, everything's fine, go away, but everything's fine, just get away from the building. No, I don't think so. Too convenient. Too convenient. Boring. I wrote a joke this morning about 6:30 in the morning, which got a little bit of attention, but the first bit of attention it got from the lovely Emily Galati. Now, if you don't know Emily Galati, very popular TV comedian. She's been on Conan. She's been on, I think, The Tonight Show. She's done a lot of things in comedy. This lady has real credits that I don't have. I really don't. And I wrote this morning, reports from California say that Disneyland will be used as a major public site for people to receive the vaccine. And I hope they administer them at the Fantasyland Theater while we all watch the new stage show Beauty and the Mark of the Beast. Okay, again, whether or not you think it's funny, I really don't give a shit. 6:30 in the morning, I was thinking about it and I put it out there. Now, she responds, and this is interesting to me because she responds and she specifically says that this is a bad joke and not about the talking topic wise. She's saying that it's not a bad joke because of the vaccine and the anti-vax subtext of it. She's saying that it's a bad joke because the construction is horrible. If you're going to write an anti-vaccine joke, wait a minute, you're starting to show your hand there, Emily. At least take the time to write a good one with way fewer words. And she goes on with several words to tell me why I should use less words. Now, she ends with, you describe yourself as a professional comedian. Now, we could take a look real quick. And actually, I describe myself as a shift leader in training at stand-up comedy. So I don't know if that's professional, but yeah, that's how I describe myself. So I don't know where she's getting that. And secondly, she says, it's painfully obvious you're an open micer. Now, this in the comedy world, if you don't know, is a big insult. Calling somebody an open micer versus, a comedian. An open micer is just a hobbyist. They're not very good at it. They're kind of, they don't tell very good jokes. They don't write well, which is what she's implying here. But I kind of take, and I'll give credit to Ty Rivera for this because it's true, I don't take the same approach to the open mic scene. Look, if you're really trying and you're grinding, the open mic, that's where it starts. That's where it really, any comedian worth their salt, at least in the last 50 years plus, maybe before the YouTube age back, got their start. That's where you start, is the open mic. There's no other place to get started in comedy than the open mic. That's where you go. So to degrade people because they're an open micer is really kind of childish in my opinion because, where were you? What are you? You don't take your jokes to the open mic? You just run them and they're perfect every time? They're great? Well, apparently they are for Emily Galati because she goes on. She was angry this morning. She somebody pissed in her cornflakes and she was going to let me know about it. But, the interesting thing that I find about this is, first of all, the double standard of it. Now, if I'd come onto her page and mansplained in 75 plus characters why, or 140, I don't know, why I didn't like her joke and why the structure of it didn't work and what I had a problem with it, I would have been castigated and told that I was some sort of horrible misogynist and I need to crush the patriarchy because I don't know what I'm talking about. I'd be called an effing moron or what have you. That's just, that's the way it works. I understand that. But she's got the authority to come in and say her piece without any kind of worry of repercussion or consequence because she hits the intersectional markings more than I do. I am the quintessential cis white male. Okay? Nobody gives me any credit or cares about what I have to say because of the history of racism and discrimination in this country, so therefore I have no voice or opinion. However, when you're a female, you hit at least one of the markings because the females, of course, have been subjugated by men, and they've been living under this patriarchy for so long that they are a victim. Now, if she was a different color, or if she was trans, she'd even hit more intersectional check marks, and I would be in even deeper trouble had I even responded with anything negative or what I wanted to say. I don't know why this is not responding. I want to see the comments, all of them, and it's not opening, which is very strange. I I guess it's because I don't know. Anyway, she went on to tell me why my joke sucks and I should quit comedy. Yet, the joke is still getting likes. It's got more laughs than anything else, as you can see. And she ended up admitting, which I can't seem to pull up for some fucking reason. I swear, Facebook fucks with you. I'm getting to my final point. I can't pull up the rest of these comments or replies for some reason. I don't know. Maybe she erased her comment because she was tired of getting the hate mail back, because my people came to stand by me. Oh, here we go. Well, you can see her admittedly saying, yes, I woke up crabby, and yes, this is the random thing that made my frustration with everything else going on boil over. Okay, so now we get to the real heart of the matter. You're just mad because you woke up mad, and you decided that you were just going to randomly take it out on some man on your feed. You're not going to go out and do this. You wouldn't do it to a black man. You wouldn't do it to a trans man. You wouldn't do it to a Muslim man. No, you do it to a cis white male Christian man. That's who you do it to, because guess what? Easy target. Shooting fish in a barrel, no problem. Wipe your hands after saying whatever derogatory bullshit you want, because it's okay, because of the patriarchy or whatever nonsense you want to come up with. This is the double standard that I'm having a problem with. And yes, this infiltrates your First Amendment rights, because it gets into the realm of what these people and I don't even want to label them these people, but people in general want to call hate speech. There is no such thing as hate speech. There is hateful speech. There are people that speak hatefully. There is speech that is filled with hate, but there is no legal precedent and no actual definition of hate speech. Yet people want to stifle speech because of what they consider hate. Now, just because you hate what I'm saying doesn't make it hate speech. And it certainly doesn't give you the right to tell me I can't say it. Here's a stupid joke that'll get zero attention because it's just a flippant little non-biased, nothing, run-of-the-mill, nowhere joke. Chuck only got all the attention because he was the oldest. Nobody ever talks about the middle kid, Iggy Norris. Ignores us. Anyway, not my best work. But it just goes to show you, getting to my final point about the algorithm. Here's a joke I threw out there. It's getting a little bit of attention, not much. I don't expect too much anymore. I really feel like I'm getting shadowed and put in a corner. There's one person on my feed who, when they like my post, I've found 9 times out of 10, it goes nowhere else. It's almost like they're my Facebook cul-de-sac. It's a dead end in my Facebook feed. If I put it out there and they like it, kaputnik. It's done. It goes nowhere else. That's it. Top selling book today on Amazon, 1984. That's actually true. How to Recognize Irony is a close second. I thought that was funny. It's a funny joke to me because it's pretty ironic that we're just catching up now. By the way, spoiler alert to all you 1984s who are just now getting into the book. It's got nothing to do with Wonder Woman. Don't get your hopes up. That's, I guess, the latest of my work, but I just wanted to run you through what I'm seeing on a daily basis, because people just, I don't know, maybe I've got a punchable face, maybe it's the hair, people hate the hair, but I get a lot of bullshit from people that don't like what I have to say, and really a lot of it is just jokes. And it gets to my final point. The reason you see what I put out there is not my fault. It's Facebook's algorithm. You put out what you want to see, whether you know it or not. You got to think of Facebook like the universe. And I'm not getting too celestial here, but think about this. There is something as the law of attraction. What kind of aura and ideas and energy you put out, you are going to collect. It's going to come back to you. Do you think that the universe is just some void, some open void without end? How could it be without end if we know that the universe is expanding? So there's got to be an end to it. And what happens when you drop that water into the bucket of water and the ripples go out? They hit the inside of the rim of that bucket and they come back in. What you put out comes back to you. The energy you put out there will come back to you. And if you put orders into the universe of hateful, horrible, bigoted, deceitful, negative speech, the universe will take that order and serve it back up to you 100-fold. Why do that to yourself? Listen to these stupid ideas. Connect with other people. Engage with them in a way that's non-negative. Put out a different energy, because Facebook works the same way. You put out your energy with what you type. I try to put out jokes for the most part. And you're going to get back what you give. I try to give laughter, and as you can see from a lot of my posts, the first response is laughter. Now you're going to get some naysayers. You're going to hit a bump in the road. Ladies and gentlemen, there will be some turbulence. Buckle your seatbelts. But I don't let it outweigh the good. I'm not going to give in to the adage of one aw shit knocks out 1,000 attaboys. I won't do it. It's too important to focus on the positive, especially right now, and I think you know that's true. So, I just wanted to bring this message to you that, look, I get hate in my small little circle and sphere of celebrity, if you can call it that. I get around, I tell my jokes. I've got thousands of shirts and thousands of bits and CDs and merchandise. I've performed for hundreds of thousands easily by now. I don't know what to expect from all of it. One day my fish will come in. But I do know that I can't spend any time worrying about what other people say about me, especially if it's negative. Because in the words of the philosopher and true poet, Public Enemy, I ain't even trying to hear that. Thanks a lot for joining my little talk today. I'm going to try and do more of these. Maybe not so serious, but anyway, I appreciate you listening for the time being, because that's all we got is these, remember that. That's all you have are moments. Unfortunately, we've been spending a lot of those moments alone, sniffing our own farts, listening to our own echo chambers of what we want to hear over these past few months, because all we've been fed is the information they give us. So try to stay positive, put out that positive energy, and hopefully that'll come back to you. And we can all start living again in freedom and in peace. But if there's harder times ahead, then prepare yourselves for that too. But as long as we still have some free speech, I'm going to go ahead and use it, even though I think Facebook stifled mine pretty well. It kept screwing up my connection, even though YouTube and Periscope were just fine. Or Twitch, you tell me. Anyway, you can find me on Twitch at Elkin_Night, KNIGHT. I'm probably going to change that pretty soon. It was like I was going to have like followers called Elkin'S, Elkin'S. And so I put Elkin Night. And I ended up hating it, but you have to wait like 3 months to change your name on Twitch, so that's why it's there like that. But you can find me at Elkin_Night for now. See a lot of my previous material. We did a lot of Disney stuff. We've played a lot of games. We're going to have a lot of cool things coming up in the future. Swear Word Jeopardy's coming up. We got interviews with some really cool cats. And, well, we're just going to be banging on the door of truth and seeing what happens. And let's do it together while we still have the mouthpiece of freedom. This is Alex Elkin, and thanks a lot for listening. We'll see you next time.